Morning, and thank you for joining our webinar, The Scoop on Microsoft Dynamics ERP Roadmaps and Releases. My name is Kim Anselmo, and I'll be kicking off our webinar this morning with a couple of housekeeping items. You can maximize or minimize the webinar pane during the presentation by using the red and orange arrow buttons. During the webinar, we'll also encourage you to ask questions. You'll see a question box in the webinar window pane that you can use to type your questions in and click submit. We will answer those questions as time allows during the presentation or at the end during the Q&A. So to ensure that you have good audio quality, please check your settings and the appropriate audio option box is selected. If you're using a telephone, you can click on the phone call option. If you're listening through your computer, then click on the audio option. Today's webinar does qualify for CPE credits, so you do need to use a personal computer, no smartphones, and log in with your own information and unique URL. You need to be logged into our online software for at least 50 consecutive minutes within the scheduled time frame of the webinar. You'll also need to actively respond to at least 75% of the polling questions that we have today, and then complete the evaluation survey at the end of the webinar as well. Our learning objectives for today are to discover the plans for Microsoft Dynamics release waves and updates, evaluate how to align and prepare your organization, and uncover the latest enhancements and features to help you utilize your existing solutions. And with that, I would like to introduce our presenters today, Teresa Brown, our partner in consulting, and John Van Meter, our manager for partner consulting.
Thanks, Kim. Good morning, everybody. This is Teresa Brown. I'm a partner with the firm and specializing in everything consulting. My background has historically been very deep with a lot of the Microsoft products, and I'm excited today to explain to you what's going on in the near future.
And hi guys, this is John Van Meter here on the technology consulting arm at Armanino. I've been working in the Dynamics channel here for about 18 years. And excited to tell you a little bit about what's new in the roadmap here.
So a little bit about Armanino. I know that a lot of the folks who have joined the webinar today are very familiar with the organization, but just briefly wanted to explain who we are. We are a full service CPA and consulting firm with tax, audit, and consulting scattered across a number of states, and we have been the Microsoft Inner Circle partner for 8 years running. We have a lot of access to the insights and information that Microsoft has to offer, so we're pleased to be able to present to you kind of the scoop on the ERP solutions today. So a quick history lesson and an overview of the Dynamics ERP solutions. Around about the year 2000, Microsoft did acquire a number of ERP solutions from various companies, from Solomon, from Great Plains, from Navision, and Exapta. So each of these pillars here basically talks about what each of these are today. So Dynamics SL, formerly known as Solomon, for those of you who are still on that solution, we do know that minimal new features are planned. We are going to go into details about all of these solutions during this presentation, so stay tuned for more. So with that, there is a path to move to BC or Business Central. We're going to learn a lot about Business Central today. For those on Dynamics GP, formerly known as Great Plains, we're going to cover the new modern lifecycle support policy. We'll talk about all the continued enhancements, and for those of you who are interested, we'll talk about the path to potentially move you to Business Central or BC. For Dynamics 365 Business Central or BC, formerly known as Navision or NAV, this is typically for the small to medium business market, and there are various cloud and on-premise options here. And for Dynamics 365 F&O or Finance and Operations, formerly known as Exapta, that is typically for medium to enterprise size clients, and there are options here for cloud and on-premise as well. So now let's jump into some of the details of each of these solutions. So with that, we do have a polling question for you. I think Kim mentioned that you need to be actively engaged if you want your CPE credits. So let's jump into polling question number 1. And the question is, which ERP solution do you use today? It may be Dynamics, it may be something else. So is it Dynamics SL, Dynamics GP, either NAV or Dynamics 365 Business Central, or AX or Dynamics 365 F&O, or none of the above? So I think Kim's going to keep those polling questions open here for just about 10 seconds, and then we will see the results.
Okay, I'm going ahead and close the poll right now.
All right, so we do have a small number of SL clients on the phone today. Welcome to the call. A number of GP folks, actually a small number of BC clients as well, and some D365 or AX F&O clients, and then a couple that are none of the above. So really well-rounded group of folks here today, but it looks like we have the majority in the GP space. So we're going to start though with SL. But before we do that, we want to jump into a little conversation about the cloud.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've seen just in terms of a macro trend is a lot of companies moving to the cloud from their on-premise, and there's a number of reasons why companies may choose to do that. The first really being that they may have an initiative to move to the cloud, and that could be spurred by a number of things, whether it's access from remote locations and devices. You have a more diversified workforce, especially down or in the context of COVID recently, right? A lot of people are working from home, and it's just a lot easier to manage access through web-based applications rather than logging into the local VPN and trying to turn on a terminal server or Citrix-based client. We also see a lot of folks motivated by maintaining less infrastructure, so buying fewer capital assets and servers, not burning your internal staff around monitoring and continuous backups and other things to maintain that on-premise solution. And then another big one that is, at least in my experience, I think our experience here at Armanino is we've seen more and more companies subject to cyber attacks. So people that are, trying to submit malware and other, phishing attacks into your network to gain access and use tools like BitLocker or other hijacking mechanisms that require, paying Bitcoin and ransom to essentially unlock your application. So trying to avoid having to manage that and maintain that is another, good motivation for moving those applications to the cloud. And then finally, around artificial intelligence and business intelligence, there's newer capabilities that are coming available, and so a lot of times those are enabled powerfully by the cloud technology. So all good reasons why companies are considering that move. So just to kind of touch on that cybersecurity element of it all, because as we get into more sophisticated, very attacks and such, really having solutions in place that are able to monitor in real time the attempts from not unknown IPs or from territories outside of the country and other things that your internal tools and technologies may not be able to keep up with on the same level that a Microsoft or other cloud solution providers who invest billions of dollars in this technology are able to do on the same scale. So taking into account the level of sophistication that Microsoft has is one of those value adds in terms of moving to the cloud. And so they're able to do that monitoring and support of all of your logins and attempts to access your systems. Okay, so to touch a little bit more on the overall technologies that are being enabled through the cloud, we'll talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and what that means in a realistic context and why cloud technologies are enabling some of these things. So we kind of simplify it by breaking it down into really three areas. One is being predictive analytics, so that's taking the data that you're able to generate through your system. Sometimes this is, from your CRM, like a Dynamics 365 or Salesforce, or, of course, through your ERP and other, solutions that may be in your environment, and being able to take those, that data and put it through a machine learning model to come up with predictive analytics. And there are, kind of as you go around the wheel here, various areas in customer support, sentiment analysis and churn, understanding supply chain management to, do things like validate orders and make sure that they, clear customs and other things. All the way through, AR, risk, fraud detection, customer collections, and analysis there. So all of those are using machine learning models to form predictive analytics. And Microsoft has been incorporating more and more of these into their technologies as first-party solutions that are adding value to their cloud solutions and innovating very quickly on that. The next is around robotic process automation. And this is about automating key tasks to help make your workforce more efficient. Various areas of robotic process automation may be optical character recognition, OCR. A good example there may be customer invoices or fax to order forms, or other ways where data needs to be transcribed and put into a system on an ongoing regular basis. And so those RPA tools are able to automate that task, eliminating, that manual error-prone process, and making that more streamlined. The last here is virtual assistants. So virtual assistants are essentially bots, bots that you can, somebody could log into your customer service site or ask questions about products, or get help or assistance for how they're trying to use a product of yours. So virtual assistants will, help automate that customer service function and can escalate to, live bodies when needed. So all those technologies are kind of taking the whole cloud suite and delivering them in high value add solutions. Okay, so we have another polling question here. And this is really around the adoption for your company. If you were to, grade your company on where you're at from a journey to the cloud. And so kind of going down the list, the majority of the applications in the cloud, some of them maybe you're slower to adopt it or have no business applications in the cloud. And in some cases, there are, types of companies that need to keep all their data on premise. So if you want to take just a few seconds to answer that question, we'll leave it up for a moment here, and then Kim can close it out and we can see the results.
Okay, gonna close in just a moment. Still see some votes coming in, so I'm gonna go ahead and close it now. Thank you.
Great. So it looks like there is, certainly the macro trend of companies moving more and more towards the cloud is apparent here in where the poll results are. I think if we were to ask the same question, 2 or 3 years ago, it would be, far less adoption, but is encouraging.
100%, John, I agree. Even 5 years ago, I think it was more like 50-50 and a little bit longer for people to adopt. So very, very telling. I did want to share a story. I didn't want to interrupt you, John, but around the cybersecurity space, we want to make sure that your data is protected. We've had far too many calls during COVID where folks are now working from home, maybe on old laptops and not protecting their devices and virus checking them. I do have a couple of clients who are infected with malware and were the unfortunate recipients of some data reconstruction. So I really want to help you guys get there. So let's move on to Microsoft Dynamics SL, formerly known as Solomon. This is a little bit of the SL roadmap, and I'm just going to kind of start with where we are currently today. In 2020, CU4 and CU5 had some enhancements around AP, service and sales orders, Power Suite for deliverables, some web apps, and then just some top feature requests. Microsoft does have a nice way through customer experience information to allow people to vote on the latest and greatest new features that they might introduce. So for 2021, they're identifying this as just kind of SL Next. There will be some ongoing development, and that's going to be really around the top features that are requested by the Dynamics community and partners. And so you have a vote there. I will say that for our SL clients, we are finding that it is harder and harder to find support to support the organization. So I see a lot of SL clients who are moving toward other solutions and to the cloud. So let's take a look at maybe what a roadmap might look like for you. So for now, anybody with the SL application could start by taking their balances and some of the transactional data and move it into D365 Business Central or BC. There are migration options that are now available. We'll talk about licensing a little bit later in this conversation. The Dynamics SL 2018 version, you could certainly upgrade to the latest version and stay supported. But again, the feature enhancements, I think, are going to be much on the lighter side. So if you have a very broad implementation of SL where you're using a lot of third-party applications, maybe have customizations, that might be a reason to stay on 2018. But if you're already on 2018, you certainly could move to BC with the Intelligent Edge and start using some of the cloud capabilities that John just mentioned. And we are going to show you a little bit more about that and a little bit later in this presentation. For those who are on GP, we've got a little bit more meat to this presentation. Go ahead and move to the next slide. This is the roadmap, the current roadmap looking at 2018 R2. Now, the reason we've got 2016 and kind of a broader roadmap here or broader life cycle here is that we do find that a lot of clients are still on older, I'm going to call them older, but still supported versions of GP. With 2019, 2020, and 2021, there are additional features that will be coming out. With 2018 R2, they did have some significant financial enhancements, purchasing and sales enhancements. With GP Next, the Intelligent Edge enhancements and ongoing development. And you'll continue to see ongoing development with GP, and it's certainly by no means going away. It's got a lot of functionality and capabilities built into the solution, so it will remain supported. Let's move to the next slide. But we want to demystify what this lifecycle policy stuff is all about. So on the existing lifecycle policy, it's called the fixed lifecycle policy. There are some support end dates coming for versions if you are still on one of those versions. So for clients who are still on 2015, the mainstream support did end already on April 14th. That does not mean that we are no longer supporting you. That means that you are no longer on a current version of GP and you will need to upgrade. If you are on GB 2016, mainstream support will end next year, so you've got some runway. If you're on 2018 and prior, mainstream support is going to end on January 10th of 2023, and a lot of runway left for you to get yourself current. So there are clients who are on 2015, 16, that are wanting to upgrade, and certainly we can talk about performing the upgrade, but you also need to understand what that means. When you move to the most current version, go ahead and flip to the next slide. You are now going to be on what's called the modern lifecycle policy, no longer the fixed lifecycle policy. For our GP clients, historically, staying current on the solution typically meant an upgrade. Some clients would do every 2 years, every 3 years. Some clients would wait longer. Once you have upgraded to the most current release, going forward, you, to stay current, will need to accept one of 3 annual releases of the software. So in roughly October of each year, there will be a new features release and bug fixes, commonly known as a service pack. In June, there will be some tax updates and bug fixes, and at the end of the year, November-ish, December-ish, there is a year-end update. It does not mean that you need to accept each and every one of these, but you do need to accept one of these or upgrade one of these each year to remain current. Specific to anybody who is on payroll, there are significant year-end updates that come every year, so you're pretty used to doing this, and you'll need to continue to do so. So as you look at this timeline, you might, in 2020, you might take the October new features and bug fixes, and in 2021, you may choose the June or the November, December, and as long as you stay on one of them, then you are complying with the modern lifecycle policy. So this is really a shift toward getting people to keeping their software a little bit more current. Go ahead and move to the next slide. Go ahead and flip to, okay, so for those clients who want to explore the possibility of moving GP or SL to D365 Business Central or F&O, we can talk about that as well a little bit later because we're going to show you the differences between the solutions. Moving from one of these solutions to Business Central, you'll now move to annual subscription billing as opposed to the Business Ready Enhancement Plan. The price point will be pretty similar to your renewal quote. You'll have dual use of both solutions. So you'll be able to use both GP or SL and D365 at the same time for a time period and have access to both sort of to try before you buy and actually try it with your own data. We're going to talk about the mechanics of how to do that. As John mentioned, you'll be able to secure your data in the cloud. You'll be able to reduce or eliminate some hardware costs, assuming you probably still need laptops or desktops. You'll be able to enable those folks that you've sent to work from home to be working with a true cloud-based solution. And you'll have full access to the common data service or Power Platform, including business intelligence, various apps, and Automate. And it will improve the integrations that you have to other Office 365 applications. So truly some benefits to move. We are not trying to convince you to move if you are comfortable in your GP solution, and that's still going to continue. Same with your SL solution. But we did want you to understand that you have options. And so this try before you buy option is a really powerful one. So what does it look like for clients who are current on their maintenance? For clients who are current on their maintenance, there is a promotion going on through June of 2021. The pricing is based on named users as opposed to what you are currently used to, which is concurrent user path. And the pricing you can see here up on the screen is discounted 60%. Per user per month, $40 for the premium, $28 for the essentials, $3 for the team members, and $16 for each Business Central device. So these are pricing solutions that you can take advantage of through a transition license plan. It would be, again, very similar to what you have today from a pricing perspective, but may give you access to unlock more users for sure. Go ahead, Kim. So that takes us to polling question number 3. So if you are, and it seems like the majority of you on this call today, if you're on GP today, what are your path options? And this is not what are you going to do, this is just what are the options, just seeing who's following along. Do you want to stay on GP? Do you want to try the migration to Business Central? Are you looking at a kind of a bigger package and want to look at F&O, or can you do all of the above? So Kim, you want to?
Yeah, I'll close here in just a moment.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Thank you.
So yep, these are options. All of the above actually is the right answer. You have the option to do any one of these 4. And so it looks like a lot of people are interested in staying on GP. We are still here to support that. There will still be enhancements. You still can try out Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. Some of you are looking at maybe F&O. All right, so let's move forward. Let's talk a little bit more about Business Central, and I'm going to turn this over to John.
All right, thanks, Teresa. So yeah, Business Central is really what we would refer to as Dynamics NAV in the cloud. So when Microsoft set out to make a cloud-first ERP solution, they really started with Dynamics NAV as their core foundation. And the reason why they did that is it really is the most popular in terms of the number of companies that are running it, right? It's got 31 years of heritage, 140,000 instances that are, production instances out there, with over 3.3 million users in 196 countries. So it is a very popular foundation. And when Microsoft built this Business Central, they, really used that legacy to lay the foundation here. So I want to go to the next slide. So the Business Central solution is really taking advantage of the modern architecture that Microsoft has focused on with the HTML5 web-based user experience, and they've taken the core ERP solution and merged so much of the functionality with the other Office 365 platform that there is really first-party integration with things like Outlook, Word, Excel, and other business tools like Teams. So that is really a one Microsoft-based solution, and it's taken advantage of the Power Platform as well. So with that, it's the common data service that serves as the common database between the Microsoft Dynamics customer engagement or CRM applications. It's Power BI, which is the presentation layer for the business analytics and predictive analytics. It has Power Automate or Flow, which allows things like OCR capabilities and other complex integrations between multiple applications with over 300 applications in that list of connectors that are available out of the box. And then the Power Apps platform as well, which we'll talk a little bit about. The Power Apps allows very rapid low-code development of solutions to help support the business well beyond the functionality that's native in ERP. So in terms of the Power Apps, this is one element that we're seeing a lot of adoption across all of our ERP customers. And oftentimes that's because it's packaged in your Office 365 or Dynamics license and allows you to quickly build out solutions. Just at Armanino, we've built out COVID trackers, return to work trackers, a lot of we have office workspace scheduling. So if we need to socially distance workspace cubicles, we have the ability to create a reservation system and enforce that. So a lot of capabilities just using Power Apps we use internally and have built for other customers as well. And so these things are very quick and easy to roll out, allow you to use location, control, barcoding, your cameras, things that are native to the devices that are everyone has in their cell phone today. So really powerful solutions with embedded Power BI and Power Automate to integrate to all of your back end and front office solutions. With the Dynamics BC specifically, it has some pretty broad-based functionality, and this is around the financial management, sales and service management, project management. Really, when it comes to folks who are on the Dynamics SL ERP solution, that one really has a lot of specific job costing and other capabilities that we see as a good fit for the BC applications going forward as well. The supply chain management is fairly robust. I mean, for tier 2 ERP solution and has a lot of capabilities that are extended by ISV solutions out in the market as well. And then of course the operations management around MRP and production, and strong reporting and analytics, really using a lot of that built-in intelligence in Power BI. So just in terms of the roadmap, similarly to GP, there is an ongoing strategy around the additional functionality over time. But Business Central being a much younger application, they came out with it first as a cloud solution as the first release, and then secondarily created the on-premise version and in a subsequent release there in fall 18. So this is available both on the cloud and on premise, and there are scenarios where companies still choose to run on premise for the Business Central application, and oftentimes that's where you're in a remote warehouse or a production facility that may have unreliable internet, or in some cases there are ITAR requirements where government contractors need to have secured facilities with U.S.-based citizens only operating in that environment. So on-premise still seems to be favored there for a lot of companies as well. But as they continue to go down the path here, they'll be adding more capability around the common data service, data and intelligence. That common data service is really a database that replicates all of your key entities, so like accounts, customers, quotes, orders, and allows you to easily integrate with other applications in the stack, such as the D365 CRM suite with native bidirectional integration there, and integration to the Power Apps and Portals suite, which allows you to extend the solutions out to a variety of employees as well as external customers and vendors as well. So we'll continue to see some significant improvement there, as well as the way the code will be managed using Visual Studio, similar to the D365 Finance and Operations. So with that, we'll jump into a little bit about D365 F&O, and I know we have a number of AX users here on the call today. So in terms of the release cycle, just at a very high level, Microsoft's moved to a monthly release cycle, so 8 months out of the year there's a release cycle, and Microsoft has set that up so that those come in 2 waves, and one of those upgrades every 6 months is the modern life cycle for the Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. So with each one of those updates that you put into your cloud environment, you have the option to selectively enable these new features in your test environment, and then you would schedule for them to be enabled into your production environment just through a front-end user interface. So really slick way to get value out of the application on a continuous upgrade basis that we see adds a lot of value for our clients. So with that, these are just a few of those areas that have added significant improvements over the time, and there really are hundreds of these updates that go in each one of these releases, and we're seeing more and more of these things being like the cash flow forecast calculation, where it uses machine learning and AI to let you know the most likely scenarios in terms of cash collections and bank account balances and the like. We'll also see customer payment predictions, which loads into that cash flow prediction using, again, machine learning, external data for cash flow forecasting, such as credit reports and the like, bank balance forecasting, intelligent budget proposals using machine learning models to help predict the future budget spend as a baseline, and allowing you to then update those, and additional workspaces for roles in the organization. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So another thing that's new about the Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations is really the nomenclature of the licensing. And I still call it Finance and Operations, but technically it's been broken out a little bit further here. So Dynamics 365 for Finance really, bundles together the core finance modules, AR, AP, GL, etc. The supply chain management really focuses on the sales operations, planning, production, and that side of the house as well. So a separate license type. And then the human resources really takes the best of what was the Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations human resource module combined with talent and licenses that collective bundle of modules into D365 human resources. They've also added project operations, which is really a joint development and design effort between the project team at Microsoft, the CRM team that had previously been building the professional service automation solution, and the D365 Finance and Operations Projects module. So really combining those into a end-to-end project management solution that works all the way from pipeline management and quotes all the way through financial accounting. Okay, so in terms of licensing, similar to the Business Central path, for customers who are current on their maintenance for really any of the solutions here, and most commonly Dynamics AX, there's a path forward. So Microsoft has extended a discount of 40% off of the annual subscription to any existing customer, and that license discount is in perpetuity. So for you keep that discount, retain that discount through subsequent renewal years. And so you can see a little bit there. Microsoft also has has other promotional offers that allow existing AX customers to go through what we call a standard migration assessment that allows them to work with a partner to run the code through an analyzer, do functional technical analysis, and ultimately provide that level of effort to either migrate or upgrade with all your data in place to that future D365 for Finance and Operations Cloud. So a lot of options there, and a lot of strong support from Microsoft, and we've seen quite a significant run of adoption from our existing AX 2009 to 12 customers making the move. All right, so with that, I'll pass it off to Teresa here for talking a little bit about the comparison between some of these applications.
Great, thanks, John. Lots of information to absorb. So we are trying to wrap this up with some comparisons here, and I didn't want to ignore the folks who have been chatting some questions here. So we're going to get back to those as soon as I get through these two slides. So let's try to summarize all of this and take a look at the differences between the various solutions. So licensing costs is certainly a difference between GP, Business Central, and F&O. For GP, that's still perpetual licensing costs, assuming you're not on a hosted platform today, and hosting costs are additional. For Business Central, these are the undiscounted prices, by the way, not the promotional prices. Business Central is typically $70 per user per month for the essentials and $100 for the premium. And F&O is $180 per month. The important note between the two of these solutions is that for Business Central, there's no minimum number of users. And for F&O, there is a 20 user minimum cost. And also what's important to note is for BC and F&O both, those are named users. So every single person that will be using the solution, whether they are using it at the same time or not, counts as a user. So for upgrades and updates, for GP, you need to stay current on your service pack. When you move to BC or F&O, you're on a SaaS solution. The updates are automatic. You do have an option as to which time you're going to take that. But I think you have probably within a week or so. John, maybe unmute yourself if you know how that works.
Yeah, you do get to select the time frame, and you do get to go through your standard test cycle before you move those in. But you need to stay within a year of the latest release.
Yeah. Which is important to know because a lot of folks do want to go through those formal test plans, and that's we encourage that. For general ledger, and this is not every difference, we just wanted to highlight some of the significant ones. For GP, you have the segmented chart of accounts. So it's a full text string segmented by dashes. It allows you to slice and dice, but it is a full string for each account number versus BC and F&O. They have the dimensional chart of accounts that allows you to identify dimensions as opposed to storing it as that full string. You have the option to dimensionalize those, which is really critical when you're doing multi-entity, which takes me to multi-entity reporting. For GP, you can have as many entities as you like. Those are stored in separate databases. Similarly with BC, those are in separate databases, and with F&O, it's full multi-entity management in a single database. You do have the option with GP and BC to add on a third party that will allow you to have multi-entity management within the same company database. That's just a third party addition. For the financial reporting, and I know that we did have a question about management reporter, but for financial reporting in GP, it's management reporter and jet reports. And when you move to BC, you have account schedules and analysis views. You can use Solver, other ISVs, or Power BI. There are other solutions that we have been exploring as well, but Management Reporter will not be that ongoing solution. John, I'll let you address the D365 F&O financial reporting.
Yeah, for financial reporting, they have the native financial report writer, which is 2 generations beyond the FRX. FRX became Management Reporter, and then that was then updated further to what they call the financial report writer. Additionally, they have Power BI, which they've used for the financial reporting as well, for additional ability to slice and dice and visualize your traditional balance sheet, P&L, et cetera.
Great, thanks. For budgeting, for GP, it's Excel-based, also Excel-based in Business Central. You do have the additional options of adding Solver or Adaptive to help you with the budgeting, more complex budgeting. And with D365 F&O, it does have budgeting built in, but third party for more complex scenarios. Solver or Adaptive could be one of those solutions. For BI capabilities, some Power BI integration in GP are using OLAP cubes. Some custom integration with Tableau is possible. And then for BC and F&O, you have really strong integrations with Power BI and Power Platform. Inventory is pretty similar across all the different stacks here. So we'll just go ahead and switch to the next slide. There we go, under accounts receivable and customer records. So of course you can track customers and AR in all 3 solutions. Sales commissions in GP is very, very basic. It requires a complex calculation, would require an ISV. For D365 BC, it requires an ISV, and for F&O, it has some basic commission calculations. Collections management requires an ISV for both GP and BC and is embedded. There's some embedded AI with predictive analytics for customer payments in F&O.
Yeah, as well as a full workspace around customer collections and dunning and follow-ups and all that. So really powerful on the customer collection side.
Great, thanks. On RevRec, we've seen people use allocation accounts or a third-party ISV for GP. In BC, you can allocate across departments. There's some advanced RevRec solutions that would require an ISV, and that's native to F&O. So if you have complex RevRec requirements, F&O might be the best solution. Under projects, GP has a project accounting solution that is out of the box. I would say in BC, it's stronger capabilities, and in F&O, it's very, very strong. So very big difference between the three solutions from a project tracking perspective. John, did you want to elaborate on the F&O project tracking?
Yeah, I wanted to elaborate on both. Looks like Ava had a question here around time and expense. So for BC, there are timesheets that are native to be able to record time, as well as F&O on being able to report time to production jobs or to projects.
Great, thanks. Purchase orders. So in GP, you've got some requisition workflow available. Punchouts would require an ISV. For BC, requisitions and punchouts both would require an ISV, but both of them have some purchase order approval workflow built in. And then under F&O, you've got a complete procurement solution, including the Recs and the punchout. AP automation, GP has some native workflow. Most people don't use it. Most people use that third-party ISV for true AP automation. BC does have native workflow. If you want full AP automation, people are still looking to some ISVs for that. And then in F&O, it's pretty native to the solution. The only add-on that we would see people using is for optical character recognition capabilities to scan those invoices in and have smart scanning. Big difference here on MICR check printing between GP and BC. GP requires an ISV called Macorma for MICR check printing. It's native out of the box with both BC and F&O.
And just to answer one of the questions that came up, what is punch out? So punch out is where somebody is about to create a purchase requisition, but they don't have an external catalog in their system. So they punch out is what it's called, to go to like Amazon's webpage. And they can, add things to a shopping cart, bring them back into a purchase requisition, and pass them through the approval process, so that when the buyer wants to execute the purchase of it, they have all that reference information and can just check out the shopping cart and place that order.
Great, thanks. We've got a couple of comments around the sound quality. I don't know, Brian or Kim, if you can check into that, but there's two people that are having issues with the sound quality. So I apologize for that.
Okay, and then we have another question around Concur for expense management, and no, there isn't a need to use Concur. So Dynamics F&O does have a native expense report with mobile apps as well, a camera, phone app to take pictures of receipts, and we run it through workflow, et cetera. But we do see, Concur being one of the more popular ones. Expensify and others are certainly alternatives that can be integrated, but the one exception is Concur has a travel application, which is differentiated from what anything that the Dynamics stack has.
Right. And John, we have written integrations between Concur and some of our solutions as well.
Yeah.
Cash management, e-banking, a lot of native solutions in all three of the solutions, so not much of a difference there. Integrations, big difference. So Integration Manager has been, or eConnect has been the GP solution for integrations between ISVs and GP. When you move to BC, you're using web services or some ISV integration tools, and then with F&O, you've got multiple options that are native to F&O for your integration capabilities. So those are, we tried to summarize some of the most significant differences between the solutions. We hope that we've answered a lot of your questions that you have. Let's see, I want to make sure that we've addressed the rest of the questions. So Sam, I think we talked a little bit about Management Reporter. We will be getting some more information out about the various report writing options to you in the near future. I think we're still trying to identify exactly what Microsoft's path is going to be there, and quite honestly, we're identifying what our path is going to be, what we're going to recommend to our clients. I think Eva, we've answered your project accounting question.
I see one additional question here from Jim Del Monte about EFT payables, and that is native for both D365 BC and F&O.
Sorry, which one? EFT for payables?
EFT for payables, yeah.
Yeah, Jim, I'm not 100% sure. I think EFT for payables is native. We'll get back to you with
Yeah,
that
I've checked
answer.
on those for BC and F&O, so they
Okay,
are.
okay,
Yeah.
great. It sounds like I'm the only one with the voice quality issue. I apologize. I don't know what I can do to change that at this point. We talked about Concur. Can we get a copy of the presentation? Kim, you'll be sending this out, correct?
Absolutely, it will follow afterwards.
Two-factor authentication for cloud login. John, you want to take that one?
Yeah, it's set up on your Office 365 account, and you just turn it on, and it's on. It takes very little effort from an administrative perspective to enable it, and it's I think an additional $2 a user a month on your Office 365 Active Directory login.
Okay, great.
There is another question on Concur time and expense and invoice. The time and expense is a call it an Armanino standard integration, something that we've developed, but the invoice integration is not native. There is a Whipfly ISV is noted there, and there are other ways to do that integration without the Whipfly connector, but it is not a native integration.
Great. All right, lots that we've covered today. Hopefully this has been helpful. It's taken us a while to pull all this information together because quite frankly, things have been changing very rapidly. Names of solutions change, names of the folks that we're working with change, and the features themselves are changing. So we wanted to pull together as much as we could and give you some time to make some decisions. So what we are offering today is to schedule a complimentary 60-minute session system review with your client manager and one of our ERP consultants. So we're opening that up to everybody who's on the call today. If you want to have that conversation to determine, what's the best path for me, we will help you lay that out in probably a 1-hour phone call. We can probably answer the question with some information from you. So with that, I think we do have one more polling question. And this question is around what would you like to do? So what are the next steps you'll be taking on your ERP solution, assuming you're on a Dynamics ERP solution on this call? So please select one. We're interested in learning more about Dynamics Business Central or F&O. Number 2 would be we'd like to discuss next steps with our client manager. Number 3 would be no plans. We're going to stay current on our ERP. And just for those of you who are on the line who are not Armanino clients, we still could schedule a call with you to have a discussion. Client managers are assigned to all of our clients, and so that's why it's referring to the client manager. Please go ahead and answer the question. Kim, I'll let you.
Great, and I'll go ahead and close it in just a moment. And 3, 2, 1.
Great. Okay, so about 40% of you are interested in learning a little bit more, talking with your client managers, and then another 40% are planning to stay with their current ERP. Absolutely understandable. There's a lot of investment that goes into building out these solutions. A lot of you have been on these solutions for a number of years, and it's perfectly fine to stay there. Just let us help you with that roadmap in the future. John, did you have any closing comments?
No, I just wanted to thank everyone for their active engagement today. And as there are more questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We look forward to assisting you guys in the future here.
All right, thanks everybody. Thank you, Kim, and apologies team for the audio.
Yes, thank you very much. Did we have any other questions that we needed to cover? Just double checking. I think we've got them all. So I want to thank everyone for attending. This presentation will be emailed to you. And do remember to complete the survey at the end, especially if you're looking to collect CPE credits. John and Teresa, thank you so very much.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks
Take care all.
everybody. Have a great day.